Okay, Rabotai, welcome everyone. I'd just like to make a very big Chazal Baruch, an anniversary for Ezra Halawani. Right? Baruch Hashem. You should know why anniversary. 1 year he's been coming Shurim. 1 year, non-stop. And Baruch Hashem, since he came, he grew a lot. And Baruch Hashem, all of us, we grew a lot. So that's a big Chazal Baruch to you, Ezra. Rabotai, tonight, I'd like to discuss one more point. One point. And that is the Bigdei Keuna. The clothing of the Kohen Gadol. Which one? The Me'il. What was the Me'il? No, Me'il was the robe, like the robe. That was the Choshen. Chest plate was the Choshen. Right? You had the ephod, the apron that was holding the Choshen. You had the mikbah, the hat. You had the tzitz, right? That said Kodesh LaHashem. You had of course, they had a robe. You had a shirt. I want to discuss tonight the Me'il. The Me'il. What was the Me'il? The Me'il was the robe, the coat of the Kohen. Now you should know every one of the garments of the Kohen, had a atonement for a certain Averah. Which Averah did the Me'il, did the robe have atonement for? Which one? LASHON HARA. LASHON HARA. Now, where is it that we see the midah keneg midah, like what commemorates the Me'il to the LASHON HARA? What is it? It says if you look on the bottom of the robe, they had 72 bells, rimonim. It says gold and pomegranates on the bottom. 72 of them. 72 gold, 72 rimonim. That made noise. So just like the person who made noise by speaking LASHON HARA, this should be a kapara, like an atonement to that. Now, the obvious question is, the bells make noise, but the guy spoke LASHON HARA. The bells is neutral. You understand? It didn't say something bad. It didn't say something good. It just made a bell. But the guy who spoke LASHON HARA, he said something bad. So how is that an atonement? How do you find the exact atonement? Direct balance. So I saw poskim, they bring down, some Mefarshim bring down, that on the tip of the robe of the Kohen was like a border. And that, through together, it's teaching you should make a border for your mouth. Just like you have teeth and you have lips, you make a border for your mouth. Rav Shneur Kotler, he says, listen to what he says. You see, sometimes a person speaks LASHON HARA. Now I'm going to tell you a few things about this for a second. A guy speaks LASHON HARA about another person. He speaks bad. Now I want to explain to you something. How many times do we hear it? Rabbi, I'm saying the truth. It's bad, it's LASHON HARA. Oh, Rabbi, he has a fat nose. That's LASHON HARA. He spoke something bad about the guy. I'm giving an example. The guy smells. LASHON HARA. He just spoke LASHON HARA. It's something true, but it's LASHON HARA. Because if it wasn't true, it's something higher than LASHON HARA. It's called Motzi Shem Ra. Motzi Shem Ra is a higher level, higher Avara than LASHON HARA. Just know that. In any case, it comes out that what? That he says, he brings down, one of the ways that a person should prevent himself speaking something bad. I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 ways. But one of them is, look at the whole picture of the person. You see, the Kli Yakar brings down, a person that speaks LASHON brings Midrash, a person that speaks LASHON HARA, he's like a fly. What's with a fly? He looks for what? For the feces. He looks for the feces. Right? A fly. Look at a fly. Where does he go? To the manure. Right? Every time he's by the excrement. He's by the this, by the that. What is the guy doing, Majnun? Crazy nut? He's always by the feces. That's why. Be careful. Sometimes a fly goes on your watermelon. Don't Who knows where he went before the watermelon, you know? No joke. The guy's eating, Rabbi, juicy watermelon, Rabbi. Ay. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, bottom line is, you don't know what they have, what he just went on, and now he's going to go on the watermelon. No, and the guy eats it. I don't know. Anyway, bottom line is, all right, so therefore he's like a feces. But what does it do with Lashon Hara? He says, because the guy speaks Lashon Hara, he looks just at what he did wrong. The guy has a million attributes. He did a million things right, but what do you pinpoint? What does the guy pinpoint when he speaks Lashon Hara? Oh, this bad, look what he did. You're calling him tzaddik. You're calling him tzaddik. I went one time, I was parking, and he stole my parking, and one time, yeah. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything else, he never did anything wrong to you, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's speaking something bad about, I understand you. And also, by the way, that's one of the problems with Shalom Bayit also, because a person, he only looks at the negative. Oh, my wife like this. She doesn't do that. Or the wife goes to the husband. He doesn't do that. Why you only look at the bad? Why look good? Does a lot of things right? So why are you pinpointing on the feces, on the excrement, on the bed? Yeah, why are you painting the bed? No, they this. He did this. Rabbi, I'll never look at him the same way again because this. And everything else that he does for you, or anything else that she does and helps you with the house, you don't look that. So a person speaks Lashon Hara, he writes, the Midrash speaks it out, that what? It's like a fly going to the feces and having a feast. Because he's what? He's always looking at the bed. So now, listen to what Rosh Nir Kotler says. He says, that's Rosh Shiva of Lakewood's father, from Akil Kotler's father, Rosh Nir Kotler. He passed away, he writes like this. He writes, what color was the Me'il? What color was the Me'il? Anybody know? Teddy, what color was the Me'il? Turquoise is? Light blue. Light blue. Tchelet, yes, specifically Tchelet. Now, why was it specifically Tchelet? So he says, of course, we know Tchelet is like sky blue. It's like represents the heaven, the air, right? The sky. It represents the sky, yeah? So he says, when a person looks at someone else, the me'il, the coat of the Kohen Gadol represented a color of blue that is trying to teach you, before you speak, of course you have that border, but before you speak about someone, look at the whole picture. Look at the whole broad picture. Like just like the sky is very, very broad, look at the broadness of this whole person's life. Why are you going straight to the negative? Why? You don't even know the guy's situation. And now you're talking bad about him? How? How do you have the chutzpah? How do you have the arrogance? How do you have the azut to even speak about that? And it brings even further. If you think about it, it makes sense. It says a person should judge. I'm talking about a Benoni. If the guy's a Rasha, I'm not talking about. If the guy's a Benoni, a regular guy, it says a regular guy, Havedan et kol ha'adam lekav zechut. Judge favorably a person, you should judge favorably. You should judge the person favorably, right? There was a famous story, crazy story. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was a wild story. How there was a family, he would always invite these people to get religious, this couple to be religious. And every Shabbat, consistently, they invited this couple for Shabbat, consistently, always, all the time. One day, the wife tells the husband, look, we actually, Baruch Hashem, they actually improved. Look, they're keeping Shabbat now. All of a sudden, they walk the couple out, Friday night, all of a sudden, you see the guy pulls down a cab, true story, pulls a cab, and he goes, him and his wife in a cab. The girl goes crazy. I don't understand. I'm inviting them so many years, and all of a sudden he's Mehalel Shabbat in front of my face. I'm not inviting no more. True stories. I'm not. What is this? Crazy in front of my face. 3 years later, this guy in the cab passed away, and this lady was sitting shiva. This woman, this couple that was always inviting for Shabbat, went to visit this lady. Said, I'm so sorry for your loss. She says, what happened? You didn't invite us. You used to invite us all the time for Shabbat. So I don't want to say. He says, what? And it slipped out. Shabbat, felt that you mahalel Shabbat. He says, let me explain to you something. The lady sitting Shiva is telling over. Tells the woman that visited her, let me explain to you something. That night what happened? She said that her husband had a heart disease. And when she came down the house from the Friday night meal, the reason why he pulled the cab right away on Friday night, because he knew that he had to rush to the hospital immediately, emergency. He knows his heart, he knows when he has to go. It was a chest pains, and he's a doctor himself. So he knew that he had to go to the hospital emergency. And that's why he called the thing. The girl felt so bad. Wow. If I would have known. Well, you don't think like that. So who said your brain, So if the Torah tells you the way to think, so who cares what you think, and think what the Torah thinks. Again, if he's a tzaddik gamur, you always have to give him kav zechut. We need to say, it's for sure what he did was right. And if he's a rasha, for sure, rasha, 100% he's a rasha, you don't have to give him kav zechut. When's the halacha give him kav zechut? When he's a regular. Most people are regular. There's a few, I don't know Reshaim. I personally don't know Reshaim, but I'm saying maybe, I hope nobody else knows Reshaim. But usually a person's Benoni is in the middle. So usually we hope that so you always got to give but what does it say? The Torah says, Havedan et kol ha'adam. Why does it say benefit the whole person? Just say, give benefit of the doubt to the person. No, give benefit to the doubt to the whole person. What are you saying the whole person for? Say to the person. You know why? Because it's trying to tell you, you have to look at the whole situation. You're not even looking at the whole situation. If you would see the whole situation right away, you would see the benefit of the doubt. But you look at that one little thing. You like that fly that looks just for the feces. That's what it is. That's what we have to understand. This is a big, big lesson that the Torah is teaching you. Be careful from the Me'il. Now, I'll just conclude with 2-3 stories from the Havetz Haim that I love very, very much, and we'll end over here, yeah? I'll tell you one story was, one time, Havetz Haim, now there's 2 versions to the story. I'll tell you 1 and 2 at the same time. One time, the Havetz Haim was traveling. I mean, he was going. There was a traveler looking for the Havetz Haim. The traveler went to the Havetz Haim and told the Havetz Haim. He said, where's the nearest the Havetz Haim? Where's the Havetz Haim? He said, why do you want to see him? He said, because he's the Gadol Ador. So really, this old man was the Havetz Haim, but he was saying, you don't have to see that Havetz Haim. He's like a regular person. He's a regular. Every Jew is a Jew, So there's 2 versions, and one version is that he stopped him. How can you talk about the Havetz Haim? He's regular. He's the Gadol Ador. He hit him. He smacked him. The other version of the story is that he screamed at him. He said, you old man, how could you say such a thing? Finally, he left him, and he went around and around and around, and he finally asked somebody, where's the Havetz Haim live? He said, the Havetz Haim lives over there. So he went to the Havetz Haim's house, and he knocked on the door. So who opens up? His wife. The wife opens up. Who lives? Havetz Haim. Said, he'll be here in a few minutes. He just went out, I'll come back. Who comes in the door? The person that he slapped or screamed at. Oh my goodness! He turns all red. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you're the rabbi. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Back and forth. So he says, of course I forgive you. And because of you, I was able to add an extra halakha in the Havetz Chaim that I have. He says, which halakha did you add in? He said, I'll tell you. He says, one of the halachot is, you can't speak LASHON about yourself. And I was saying, who's the Havetz Chaim? Who's the guy? So now you reminded me to write it in. You're not allowed to speak LASHON about yourself. You can't go ahead and, me, Rabbi, you don't know me, I'm a Rasha. You can't say that. You can't say that. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't speak, me, I'm not successful. You can't do that. Saying something bad about yourself, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. Allah, you're not allowed to speak about yourself. You can't speak. Chavetz Chaim. Chavetz Chaim, he said in the story over here. He said it. You made me put another halacha. Is it in the Chavetz Chaim story? I believe. He writes it over here. The story writes. Shvil HaZahav, he says the story down. You should not speak bad about yourself. You can't say, I smell. Don't speak bad about yourself. Secondly I want to tell you a story about Rabbi Levine. Rabbi Levine was there one time, I believe it was the Rabbi Levine, he saw Havetz Haim was in a shul. And back in the day, they had cloth. You know cloth? Cloth. They had cloth, right? Parchment. And there was candles. They light candles right by the parchment. So Havetz Haim was telling over, the minhag was that you put a glass over the parchment. So Havetz Haim walks in the shul and he sees what? He sees there's no glass. So he tells one of the congregants, how come you don't put the glass? No, we should put glass. So the congregant told Havetz Haim, he pointed, there's the Gavai. He's stubborn, he doesn't want to do the glass. He spoke LASHON HARA. He's saying he doesn't want to do the glass. Havetz Haim screamed out, Ay! LASHON HARA! Ay! And he said it with such a sincerity that Rabbi Ari Levine said that he when he heard the Havetz Haim scream LASHON HARA, Ay! LASHON HARA! Somebody spoke LASHON HARA! He thought that somebody bruised the Havetz Haim. He thought that somebody bit, like an animal came and bit the Havetz Haim with such a loud scream. It was an automatic reaction. He couldn't handle it. And you know what this funny Makdoshim bring down? A person has to be, I'm going to tell you this in a nutshell, by the way. There's a lot more to talk about LASHON HARA. I have a whole show, we could speak more about LASHON HARA, but I'll tell you two more points and I'm done. But it says like this. It says like this about the LASHON HARA. It says, I conclude. I forgot already what I was going to say now. I was going to say. Oh, so it's brought down the Magid one time. The Magid was teaching Shulchan Aruch. Now sometimes a person position, sometimes a person would speak bad about somebody else, but it says like Sfarim, they say don't worry, the schuyot that you have, that you spoke LASHON HARA about someone, your schuyot go to that guy, you swear, you get his schuyot, and you take it out, right? So there was a story once, how one rabbi, they were speaking, one guy spoke bad about the rabbi. So he got up to give a speech. He said, I feel bad. I said, why? Because I don't feel bad that the guy spoke, but the guy, he doesn't have mitzvot. So now, if a guy spoke LASHON HARA, he has mitzvot, it transfers to the other guy, but this guy didn't have mitzvot. So he was making a joke. He was trying to make a thing Bottom line is, one more point, they bring down Sfarim. If a person realized that the mitzvot of the other person going to the next, right, he'll even give gifts to the person who spoke LASHON HARA about him. Meaning, if somebody spoke LASHON HARA about you, the person who spoke about you, his mitzvot, kivyachol, the schuyot, like a wire transfer, kivyachol, right? And the mitzvot, right? So therefore, at the end of the day, I don't know how the explanation is, to be honest. Because now think about it. Imagine your whole life you're doing mitzvot, and all of a sudden you spoke one word about LASHON HARA about somebody else, and now you wire transfer everything. I don't know how it works. That's why I don't feel so confident speaking about it. All this funny. He quotes it. Chavot Lavot. He quotes it. I have a Chavot Lavot. He speaks about it in Shara Achna'ah. What? I'll show it to you. I can read it to you actually. What? No, he doesn't speak about. No, it doesn't say about embarrassment. He speaks about this inyan of the mitzvot transfer, and I can read it to you inside if you would like. Just give me 1 second. Let me just find it over here. What do you tell me? He's good. I hear. So I believe it's over here. Yeah, he writes it over here. You ready? I'll read it to you. Now, I don't know the explanation to this. I don't know if anybody will read it to you. This is brought down. The Gemara, it's brought down. Anybody who speaks LASHON HARA, his sins mamash up to the shamayim. Anybody who speaks LASHON HARA, he tells the gateway, the person in charge of Gehinam, meaning it's very strict judgment for this person. Now he writes over here. Listen, this is what you want to know, David. You ready? Like this. This is very, very important, but this is what it says. Again, I do not know the explanation for this, but it says, Yadua mefursam. He says known and written, and it's famous. The Kadmonim. And he writes, Huva bechavot lavot. He quotes the Chavot lavot, Shar hacheni'ah, Shar of cheni'ah, perek zayin. Hamedaber LASHON HARA ale'ehu. If a person speaks LASHON HARA about his friend, mafsid kol zechuyotav. He'll lose his chuyotav and his kim ma'ata. L'zchut mi shediber alav. It'll do wire transfer to the guy who you spoke about. Af hu niskar bechavele avonot. That's what he writes over here. And he continues, he says, the Magid told the Bet Yosef in Parashat Vayakel, he writes, and this is what quoting Magid, וגם בעניין הקמות אשר קמו נגדך, אין להרהר כי הם לא יזכיחוך, אלא, he writes, כל מי שאומר לשון הרע על חברו, anybody who speaks לשון הרע, מנקין לו זכויותיו. They raise his זכויותיו, like the wire transfer I was telling you. Now he writes over there, he writes, ואילו הווה ידע בני נשה, if the people would have known, דהב ינחה דען, what happens when he speaks לשון הרע, דעם ריבש כאילו יעביד למתן. אילו היו יודעים בני אדם סוד זה, if the people would have known this, if anybody, he writes, if anybody spoke Lashon Hara about you, you wouldn't be upset at the guy. You would send him gifts. A guy spoke about Lashon Hara about you, you would send him a check in the mail. Here's $1,000 for speaking bad about me. Says, what, you spoke bad about me? Yeah, here's but I spoke bad about you. Yeah, but your zchuyot, wire transfer. Now, I want to make something very clear. I don't know how this works, because it's very hard for me to understand. I don't understand. So a guy did mitzvot his whole life, and this. The reason why I said it over here right now is because to teach you, I don't know what it means. Maybe it says what it says. It means what it says. But I mean, I don't know. It's very hard. Imagine you're 80 years old. Imagine you're 85 years old. You spoke one lashon hara about somebody. How does that work? All your mitzvot go to that guy. All mitzvot. It's like, yeah. Oh, so that's what I hear what he's saying. He's saying, make sure you make tshuva on it. Make sure you this. Make sure you that. I don't have the explanation. Make sure he's saying you make tshuva. It'll rewire or something. I don't know. I don't know how it works. But I'm just showing the severity. I'll tell you more. David, I'll tell you one more. The Gaon of Vilna writes a letter. Let me just finish this point, yeah? The Gaon of Vilna writes, I'll conclude here. The Gaon of Vilna writes, yeah? The Gaon of Vilna says, in his letter, he was on the way to Israel. He was on the way to go to Israel. Right? Gaon of Vilna. And on his way to Israel, he wrote also a letter to his family. It's called the Igeret Agra. It's a famous Igeret. Now, I have the Igeret in English. A person can read the Igeret. What? Oh, you have it on the table. Oh, very good. Very good. We have it here. And in the letter, he actually writes, I really brought it here. I forgot it in my car. My car's across. I can't really get it. But I have the Igeret in English over there. I'm not sure if I can get the right spot right away. But he writes over there, he tells his family members, he gives them advice, be careful even to go outside. Why? Because the people who you associate with, even if you have to, let's say, pay for delivery, they come to your house better than you, because when you go outside and you speak to people, could be when you're speaking or somebody's speaking to you, you're going to get Mekshol Lashonah. He says, stay away from, of course, people that you know. That's why it's so hard, because you don't know what the guy's going to say. You don't know this, or yourself. You have to be very, very careful, on guard, where you can't speak Lashon Hara. You can't speak Lashon Hara. It's very dangerous. And he says, stay away, even from amongst people, he writes, because you don't want to speak about Lashon Hara. He says, and the punishment is tremendous. The Gaon of Vilna writes, the punishment if a person speaks Lashon Hara, I don't really want to say it, but you look it up yourselves, and you'll see what he says. They throw him from this world to the next. It's crazy stuff. You don't want to get into it. There's no purpose to it. All you're doing, you don't have a gain. You know what the problem is? People just blah 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 bladder. They chip. You know what the halacha is? If a person spoke lashon hara, there's something called sarat. You know what sarat? Leprosy. How many kinds of leprosy there is? 72 different kinds of leprosies. How many bells are on the bottom of the Kohen Gadol? 72. He says that's representing, be careful, don't speak Lashon Hara, because you could get into very big danger in that 72 business of different types of sarat. And guess what? You know what happens after? He has to bring a korban he has to take two birds, right? One bird he throws, another bird slaughters. So I forgot one shot, Rabbi Yonatan, he says, understand, why that one bird does he throw? Why one bird he throws and one bird he sacrifices? He said, because the next time, heaven forbid, he was a chirper. Birds chirp. So you chirp too. You don't control yourself. You just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. What are you doing now? Oh, let's schmooze, boys. The guy sits down, he has a schmooze, and who knows what he speaks about. You got to be careful what you say. Therefore, the other bird gets freed. You know why? Because the next time he speaks Lashon Hara, that bird will fly back to his window and chirp to him. No joke. One rabbi was saying it. I saw it inside. He's trying to bring out a point. And I'll end with the last story of the Hatzayim, which is a great story I love. And that is, this is not a famous story. but it's going to be famous now. You ready? It says like this. It says, one of his Talmidim, one of the Havetz Chaim's Talmidim, went to him, learned by the Havetz Chaim in his old age. Havetz Chaim was very, very, very old. Very old. And his Talmid saw him. Havetz Chaim says, open up my mouth. So the guy is shocked. Rabbi, I'm not opening my mouth. Open up my mouth. He says, what? Open up my mouth! The student, he says, he opens up the rabbi's mouth. And he sees a bunch of teeth. He sees teeth. Havetz Chaim says, count them. Count the teeth. He says, what do you mean? Count my teeth. Count my teeth. What? Hey, the student, okay. He starts counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And he sees like it's very healthy teeth. He passed away 100 and something years old. It's like all his teeth. He counted 32 teeth. That's exactly the amount of teeth that a person should have. And none of them was ruined. No cavity, no this, no that. And he said, Chavetz Chaim tells him, you see? Baruch Hashem, perfect? Perfect. He said, I was perfect with my mouth. Hashem made sure that my mouth would be perfect as well. Yeah, Rabotai, be careful with the LASHON HARA. It's not worth it. There's no gain. It's true. It's poison. He's speaking poison. The Avidah is great, but the reward is also tremendous. Let's all be remembering these great lessons of Shemata LASHON.